So welcome, Debbie, to PQA Reading. Thank you very much for joining us. Would you like to just introduce yourself a bit and tell us what it is that you do?
Yeah, I'm Debbie Isitt. I am a writer and director for film and for television and for theatre. I'm best known, I think, for creating, writing and directing the Nativity films and all the songs that go in them as well. And Nativity, the musical, which is a big stage show that's been touring the last 3 years. So yeah, I'm Mrs. Christmas, really.
What advice would you give to young actors filming an audition tape?
I think you should try and look as close to the character you're playing as possible without going really over the top or being daft about it. Mm-hmm. If you're meant to be playing a really mousy, shy character, don't do a self-tape, obviously, in your bright red power suit. You know, try and dress like the character. That's the first thing, because film and television is a visual medium, and we get all our messages from what we see. So think visually, try and obviously then inhabit the character, try and become the character, and remember to have a nice, clean, simple background, so we're not distracted from you, and make sure that you look, probably, if you're not asked to look direct to camera, probably just off camera. Make sure we can see most of your face, you know, no hair over your eyes or anything like that. And most importantly, remember the camera can read your mind. So if you're doing your audition, but you're actually thinking, I'm not sure this is going very well, we'll read that. The camera never lies. So make sure you're in the moment, in character, and just enjoy it.
So kind of following on from that, to do with audition etiquette, more on set, what kind of qualities or skills do you like to see in young actors on set? Like, what really impresses you? And this can be anyone from obviously small children you work with on Nativity to more teenagers, which are going to work on your own upcoming project. What do you think?
I mean, what you're really looking for are people that want to be there, are happy in their own skin, being themselves and enjoying themselves, are free and uninhibited. You know, I'm not interested in people that are very stressed or tense, or people that don't want to be there, that clown around or distract everybody by chatting. You're there to work, so you do have to concentrate, but at the same time, you have to have a playfulness about the work. You know, so I'm looking for energy, commitment, people that you know, light up the screen and make me want to film them more, you know, because they're giving me something. So it's all about what you're giving the director, what you're giving the camera. So you've got to be, you know, firing on all 4 cylinders, really concentrating, but also enjoying it and being prepared to take a risk and play and try something new, not be too inhibited, not be too distracted. Just be, take it seriously, but have fun at the same time. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but it is possible to do both of those things at once.
Kind of related to that, it was quite interesting kind of reading about your style and how that evolved, because it's kind of a mixture of, you take inspiration from British realist cinema a bit, the likes of Mike Leigh and Ken Loach, and you're also obviously quite famous for pioneering this improvisational comedy style. So I wanted to ask, how do children kind of respond to this style, this kind of very off the bat kind of style? Do they respond to it quite well, or is it really difficult to direct them in that sense?
I think the interesting thing is that the children that I work with are much better at it than the adults a lot of the time. Improvisation with children feels very natural. I think often children don't like learning lines. They don't like delivering somebody else's words, if you like. They find it quite challenging. And I think what I ask them to do really is be themselves in a different situation, and come up with their own ideas and their own words. I can then tweak them, but we don't work with paper. I mean, nobody ever reads a script, nobody ever has to learn anything. It's all done through verbal communication, and that works really well, I find, with children. They really respond to it and enjoy it because they don't know what's coming next. I mean, the children in my films never know what the next scene is. They never know what's going to happen in the end. And not just the children, the adults too. I mean, nobody knows how my films are going to end except me. So we all go on this journey together, and it's really exciting. And children love it because children have a brilliant imagination, and they can get very excited about what might happen. And they come up to me and say, what's going to happen next, Debbie? Is Mr. Poppy going to do this? And I go, no, we'll wait and see, and we'll just find out tomorrow when we all come back and start filming. So it's a really nice process. It's very different, but it's exciting.
No, definitely, yeah. And obviously, like with your nativity films, you cast a lot of non-actors, like children from local schools and stuff. So do you think that kind of lack of professional background really helped them with that, just being natural?
I mean, I absolutely, and I think a lot of the children have some kind of performing, like they might be in a dance school or in a drama group, but they're not necessarily agented, experienced performers, but they like performing and they've got some experience of it. And I think that combination is really good. And a lot of the adults I use are non-actors as well. I just think non-professional actors, if they're not asked to do something outside of their own experience, are often the best. They're the most believable, because sometimes if I say that I needed a postman in my scene to get really angry because a dog had just bitten him, I'd probably cast a postman, because he does it every day and he knows what that's like. And I love doing that, so because what you're trying to do with an actor is say, be as real as that person. So if that person is better than the actor at it, they get the job. So it's a competition for truth all the time.
And I know you mentioned as well, it almost helps to kind of ground the professional ones. So obviously when you have bigger stars like Martin Freeman, David Tennant, kind of having that clash of obviously very professional background with, sort of more, like you say, performing arts background, but at a lower level, kind of clashes quite well, would you say? Like they sort of ground each other quite well?
Yeah, and also remember, all of these kind of bigger names, these stars, if you like, were once these children, and they remember that. And I think it's helpful to remember what it was like to be hungry and keen and excited, and just everything was possible. And sometimes when you get older and you're very experienced, things become a bit boring to you, and you take things for granted. And I think having the children around reminds us all what it's like to be a child and makes us all more excited about what we're doing. So I think we learn from each other. The children learn the professionalism, and the professionals remember how to be a kind of amateur again, in a way, and that's really good fun for everyone.
From directing your first play, which I believe was Wizards of Oz, as a 9-year-old, to graduating Coventry Performing Arts, so obviously that age range is very much the children we have at our academy. That's kind of 6 to 18. So how did those experiences really inspire you to pursue a career in the entertainment industry and prepare you for it? What kind of skills did they give you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of believe that if you're in those clubs when you're young, it's in your blood. If you enjoy it, you sort of feel like you're born to do it. And I feel like I've been doing it all my life, as you say. And when I was 9, directing my friends and my cousins into that play at primary school, and then on a Sunday night, always gathering my cousins together to perform a show for the parents. I was constantly directing, really. I didn't know that's what it was. I was just trying to have fun and make something happen, but I was always trying to do it in front of an audience. I suppose, like most performers at that time, I really loved the applause, so we were always trying to make things better, and hated it if somebody criticised the thing we were doing, even if we were just pretending to be ABBA or whatever it was. We wanted it to be the best, and then at school I did school plays, and I was part of a dance troupe, and all of these things that are deemed to be children's work or amateur theatre or whatever are really vitally important. It's how you learn to work in a group. It's how you learn what it is you enjoy doing, what you're best at, where your talents really lie. This is where you discover yourself, really. And that then should help inform and tell you exactly where you want to go next, So I knew I wanted to go to study the whole of performing arts because I loved it all. I loved singing, I loved dancing, I loved acting. So I knew I wanted to do that then. So it helps you decide what area you want to pursue.
What was that transition like, going from doing stage plays to suddenly quite big films and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose for me as a child, and even when I was training as an actor, and I thought film was out of my reach, really. I didn't think it was realistic for me. But I've obviously learned since that it's very achievable if it's what you want to do. To work in television is completely achievable. You just have to be very determined about it. So for me, theatre was my choice, and I thought I'd be doing that all my life, and I did it for a lot of years. And then when I tried to move into film, at first it was a bit daunting, not because I found it daunting, but I think other people do have this idea that you can't do both, or you have to choose, but actually you don't. And the more disciplines you have, you know, the better it is for you, really, because at the end of the day, you know, whether you're an actor, a writer, a director, you know, creating costumes, sets, you're all part of telling a story. And how you're telling that story, what medium it is in, is pretty irrelevant in the end. It's all about what's the story, how good can we tell the story, who's the story for. These things are completely universal, and it doesn't matter whether it's film or television or a musical. It's all the same thing. So I encourage you not to necessarily make a hard and fast decision of I only want to act on film, or I only want to act on stage. I think you have to be open. I think what you want to say to yourself if you want to be an actor is I want to be the best actor I can be, and try lots of different ways of being that.
And I know you previously in the past, you've described yourself as like an auteur in the classical sense rather than a jobbing director. So we wanted to ask you, have you ever had a time where a producer or studio wanted to choose a different director to direct your script? And how did you deal with that?
I've had a couple of times where that's happened. Once, because the director they'd worked with before, and they knew who they were, and I was new to them. And so although the script was mine, you know, they didn't know me as a director, so they went with the other person. And I found that very challenging, because I do see myself as a writer and director, and I was very jealous of the other person directing my script, and I wasn't always happy. I didn't like the way they cast it. I didn't like lots of things about it. But actually, in the end, it got me one of the highlights of my career, because I won a big award for it as a writer. So I won a BAFTA. And I was like, wow, you know, I shouldn't have complained, because look what happened, you know. So sometimes, you know, it's all right to let go. Anyway, I had no choice, I just did. But a good thing came out of it, actually. So it's not always the right thing to be controlling. But on the other hand, when a big Hollywood studio asked if they could come and do a remake of Nativity for America, and they said, we don't want you, you know, we want an American director, that was too far for me. And I said, no, I don't want that to happen. This is my baby, and I don't want to see that happen. So, you know, both sides of the coin, really. It can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. I think you learn yourself what you're prepared to accept, you know, and what you're not. But I love the idea of making your own, you know, making your own films, or pitching your own ideas, or writing your own stuff as soon as you can, because even if you decide it's not for you, at least you've tried it. And if it is for you, how fantastic to find your voice so young. You know, it's really, really, there's no training like just doing it, you know. Absolutely. And actually development is a proper bona fide job in the film and television industry. There, you know, you can just be a development producer, you know, so you just work on developing a project, and you then hand it over to the producers to see it through. And some people just love that. They love just initiating the ideas, or nurturing other people. You know, so there's so many different jobs in this industry to choose from, that there's something for everybody. So if you do want a career, you know, it's about finding out the thing that really suits your personality.
So what's the most important advice you would give to someone, even like, you know, late teenagers, 19, 20, trying to get into the film industry? Because obviously you started quite late yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, but because I've been doing theatre, you know, I moved into film quite late. But as I said, you know, it's not rocket science. It is the same thing. It's just in a slightly different medium. So there are things you have to learn, new things, if you've been doing theatre, but essentially it's the same job, really. I mean, it depends whether it's on camera or off camera, because they're different things, really. You know, if you want to be on camera, then, as I say, you know, many of our greatest film stars come from theatre. You know, theatre is where your acting, you know, often gets honed into something really brilliant, and you get stolen from theatre and catapulted into film and television, you know. So I think you just have to train as an actor and perform and get better, really. But off camera, as I say, there's so many different jobs, so it really depends what you want to do, and there's so many different options for training, because there are lots of film courses for young people. You know, there's some brilliant media BTEC courses, there's film school, there's university, or there's just trying to get on a film that's up and running as a production runner, you know, or an intern, you know, and just learning on the job and working your way up. So there's so many ways to get in. But it's really helpful to know what you think you want to do, because if you want to do camera operating or sound recording or costume or design or write and direct, they're all so different, you know, or be a first assistant director, which is essentially bossing all the camera people around, you know, or a third assistant director, which is bossing all the extras around, you know. They're all different, the jobs, but they're all great, you know. And it's like, well, what suits me? I think that's what you've got to try and find out, and do your research about the roles in film and television that are available, and you'll discover that there's lots of possibilities out there for you. Is
Mark Wootton, aka Mr. Poppy, as bonkers in real life as he is on screen?
Yep. he's a handful. You know, Mark, Mr. Poppy are both like big overgrown puppy dogs. You know, I mean, you love puppies because they're all so excitable, and you know, or sometimes I call him Tigger, you know, because he's so bouncy up and downy all the time, lots of energy. But that's what makes him such fun to work with and such fun to watch. You know, he's got boundless energy. Yes, he is bonkers. It's a great word.
Was it difficult to direct a donkey in the third Nativity film?
Yeah, I mean, animals are just a law unto themselves. And what makes you laugh is that you go to find your animals from film animal companies. You know, there are these companies that have animals especially for film and television that are meant to be really professional, really well trained. But when they turn up on set, you realize they're just animals, and you can't train the donkey. Not really. You can handle the donkey, but you can't actually train it. It's not a dog, you know, and even the dogs are often very badly behaved in my films as well. But what's been kind of really interesting is saying, you know, listen, is the donkey all right because I want this 7-year-old little boy to run it down the corridor, you know, and it's a health and safety issue, making sure that the donkey is going to be happy enough for the little boy to do that without getting hurt. But the children tend to love the animals, and to be honest, the animals tend to love the children. Although you may know this story, but Pam Ferris, who plays Mrs. Bevan in the first Nativity film, she got bit on the foot by one of the pigs during the scene where the animals come into school. So that was a bit of a horror, because Mrs. Bevan getting bit by a pig was not funny, but it was funny, but it wasn't funny, but it was funny.
Yeah, low-key kind of smiling off camera, yeah. What's your favourite cake?
Oh my goodness, that's so important. My favourite cake. I think probably it's got to be chocolate cake. Just really plain and simple, not plain chocolate, milk chocolate. Milk chocolate cake with some lovely chocolate icing.
No, fair play, yeah. To be honest, I personally would eat anything, and I have during lockdown, so I probably need to slow down. It's good we were able to get back on set and into Academy. It came at just the right time.
Well, we're hoping to film later this year. That's the plan, but it really depends on a lot of things at the moment, because as you know, it's an ever-changing landscape. But with any luck, we will actually go into production this year, which would be amazing.
So that's actually all our questions. So thank you very much for speaking with us. I know the kids greatly appreciated it, and you answering their questions. Of course, they're all big fans, especially the younger ones, of Nativity. So many Nativity questions I had to sift through, so I'd like to think I picked the best two. But no, thank you very much, and best of luck with your projects.
It's a pleasure, and good luck all of you.